This is Mission Control. We're all green lights down here. Whenever you're ready, Captain.
For generations, we have dreamed of being able to see into space beyond the Great Iron Veil. Today, the first men from our small planet have begun to travel beyond that great iron cloud that shrouds our small planet in silence and isolation. And we will begin to see what wondrous and great things.
We're all ears, Captain.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
And this is
The Dead Do Not Podcast.
a Lexx Rewatch.
Just a bumbling security guard in the great wide galaxy. Till one day he was dealt a different card in the form of a key. This key controlled the most powerful weapon ever made. Now he had it by sheer accident, or maybe it was fate. What a cast of characters all on the spacecraft traveling. A woman named Zev who escaped from her programming. A disembodied robot head that got brainwashed instead. And Kai, the always glum undead assassin. In this space adventure you never know what comes next. So come join the crew for tales of sci-fi, laughter, and sex on the Dead Do Not Podcast. Watching Lexx.
I have no motivation to discuss this podcast episode.
You mean this season 2, episode 3 episode of Lexx, Lyekka, which is in no way, it is not now, nor has it ever been, a commentary on the American people, the American astronaut program.
Not at all.
No, you don't
Nope.
think? No, I don't think so either. No.
Nope.
No, I think the Southern accents, the badly done Southern accents, are really just coincidence. And I think the fact that the name of the planet is Potatoho is, it's random, right? They just stuck that
Somebody
in a
had
random generator.
some strong feelings.
They did. And it feels like it was last minute and they were like, well, it gets us what we want, which is Zev back. So I don't know, fuck it, just go with it.
Right. I'm imagining they're filming episode 1 of season 2, and Ava Haberman says, "You know, guys, I can't keep doing this. It's just too much."
Yeah.
And they have to scramble.
Yeah.
Oh shit. And so they
Quick, somebody write a
they
script.
slap together an episode
Yeah. 2
to
episodes, I would
exit
say.
Ava Haberman, and then
Yeah.
they have to throw together another episode to reintroduce, I guess, to recreate,
Zev.
regrow Zev.
Yeah. And I mean, okay. So
It's not.
It's fine.
It
No,
could have been a lot worse.
I kind of like this episode. There's a couple reasons I really like this episode. And we'll get to them as we go. I don't hate, but you know what? This drives home the point that this is not Star Trek.
Absolutely.
We have this vision generally that sci-fi set in space is either Star Trek, so it's this utopia, we've all come together, the fact that we're all sharing our skills and we're all not just struggling for basic needs anymore means that we've really excelled beyond the boundaries of our current constraints, and we've come together as a people, and we've taken our unity out into the stars, which I love a lot. Or you get the like Star Wars, there is an empire and it has taken
In
over
both
the
cases, there are larger narratives affecting either the group as a whole, or the society that they live in, or just the galaxy that they all happen to exist in.
Yeah, in both of them, there's like an overarching vibe, right? So either we're all utopia, We're all the best possible versions of ourselves. The universe is a great place. We meet bad people in it, but fundamentally, the universe is a good place.
There's a direction that they're going in as characters.
Right, but
They
then
have a collective goal.
or the universe is shit. It's just fucking shit.
Well, right.
No, wait,
but they're
no, wait.
still
Hear
trying
me
to
out.
do...
Hear
Okay, go
me
ahead.
out. Okay, so sci-fi is either utopia or it's dystopian, and then there's Lexx, where it's just not great people in space. These are not great people, okay, and that sort of that's driven home to us as viewers in this episode.
Yeah,
that these are not a moral group of people. This is the visual version of the t-shirt, I like coffee and maybe two people. Yeah, you've seen those shirts, the I like coffee and maybe two people. And I would definitely let 3 people die on my ship if they showed up.
for being careless.
But just because, I mean, they're not
This
my
is
people.
Lyekka. I think she's a plant. Watch your back around her.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on with that, so just be careful. Maybe they're used to living in a universe where literally everything is trying to kill you. So maybe it felt self-evident. Like, I don't know
but
what
then
that
these
is.
people from Potatoho
Yeah.
are a little more naive.
Right, because they don't know what's going on because they live inside an ion cloud. It's literally like that planet from Hitchhiker's Guide. The one that can't
planet,
see.
It was the spaceship that crashed into their planet. And they did not know that the rest of the universe at all existed.
Right.
In this case, this planet, I think the ion cloud just blocks like longer wavelength
Yeah.
electromagnetic radiation, like radio waves and X-rays and stuff like that. But visible light gets through to their planet.
Okay, so they know there's a universe, but they can't hear it.
Right. They can see the solar system, but only in like visible light and infrared and shorter wavelength stuff.
Okay. Well,
So there's a whole lot they can't see, even if they had like radio telescopes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's more I want to say about that, but I want to wait till later. So we meet,
Okay.
This is the episode where we meet Xenia Seberg, who is our replacement for Ava Haberman.
Yes, we see in the opening credits.
Yeah, she's already in the new intro. They scrubbed Ava fast. They were like, who that? Don't know who that is. I mean, like, quick. It's not like there's a little Ava Haberman, there's a little Xenia. No, they're just like out with her.
Yeah.
Out with the old, in with the new.
Haberman? I barely knew her, man.
You used the same joke last time. And it didn't make any more sense. Anyway, so we open with these green space sperm / maybe
Yes.
green rambutan
A whole flock of them.
things flying through space. And one of them, only one, thank goodness, because this could have gone real bad, enters the Lexx.
Well, there was only one like fully organic mind on the ship.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of lure. Like if they were flying through space.
Well, the ship
listening,
itself is meat,
mostly meat.
protein. If it's going after protein, this is a giant source of protein. If it's going after like individual minds, correct.
So
At this
yes,
point,
if its evolutionary
there's one.
strategy is
Yeah.
to find brains
Yeah.
and read brains for ways to interact with organic life, then Stan is the only thing around.
Right.
Because the Lexx is part computer, part insect.
At this point, Stan is the only living person on the ship.
Right.
Stan is on a ghost ship peopled by a zombie, a disembodied head, and a jar full of protein goo.
And the Lexx.
And the Lexx, who isn't a great conversationalist. No wonder Stanley is sleeping.
Lexx, you tell them what you are. I am the Lexx.
But then we enter Lexx because we enter Lexx. The little space sperm rambutan thing penetrates the Lexx. And it goes directly into the cryo chamber, which is apparently on the outside edge of one of the eyeballs.
I don't think any of these scenes should be taken as
Linear in time.
useful information about the spatial organization of the interior of the Lexx.
Okay. So you know what? I love that for you. We'll just leave that there. So it starts like scanning because even though it is a organic plant pod, it has
It's
scanning.
got lasers.
It's got laser scanners, obviously. So it pretty much just bypasses Kai. It tries scanning 790, but 790 is just like, all night by the dead Zev I did lay. If my tears were real, I would rust myself away. And 790 actually has like a wet film.
Yes, on the
Inside on the
on his
screen.
screens,
It has generated
yes, he
the
has
image of tears, but cannot
drips.
actually produce tears. And then
he's
it
doing
ends
his
up,
best.
you know what, 790
It's
is
doing its
doing
best.
the most.
Yeah.
Doing the most. And then we get a like float POV as the thing continues on away from the cryo room. And we get kind of a tour of the ship, which is more of a tour of the ship than we've ever gotten before. Usually we experience every single room in isolation.
Right. Never in sequence.
Never in sequence. And we kind of get an idea of why Stanley was always lurking around Zev's bed. Because they're sort of in one large sleeping chamber is what it kind of looked like. It doesn't.
Well, no, I think this was a separate bedroom. It's just his bedroom is creepy AF.
Yeah.
It looks like he's sleeping in a giant rib cage.
Well, he might actually be sleeping in a giant rib cage.
Whereas Zev's was a little more open and had a large circular bed.
Well, maybe Stanley likes tight cocoon-like
It reminds
spaces.
him of his room on the cluster.
It does, because his apartment on the cluster was basically just a shelf.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But Stanley's having a dream, which we know because the thing starts laser scanning him. And so we phew into Stan's head, which is terrifying, honestly, that we're going into Stan's head.
I wonder what the Lexx dreams of.
Does it sleep?
Maybe it's like a dolphin. Part of it sleeps at
Different times.
different times. Yeah.
I mean, would it require rest? Is it that organic?
Current understanding of consciousness, biological consciousness,
Yeah.
requires cycles of accumulating information, integrating information, discarding
It could be like an
non-relevant
elf.
information.
Could be like an elf where it doesn't sleep. It just goes into like the revenant's
Reverie.
reverie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
But it still
I should
goes,
know I play an elf in D&D.
it goes into a cycle of information processing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's
But
go
what
with
does that look like?
when it's not doing anything else, I guess. Pippin, thank you. Thank you. But in Stan's dream, it's like, what? Did you have more?
Oh, I was going to say, all of perception is a hallucination.
Yes.
And we just cycle between how much of the information going into the hallucination is from like active sensory input versus
Yeah.
memories.
We are calcium icicles wearing a meat suit hallucinating reality.
Yeah.
Life is what you fucking make it, okay? All right, so in the dream, Stanley is with a woman, and there's like a sunny background. She's wearing a pink outfit. She's blonde. And she's like, just say it, Stanley. Just say it. And he's like, you mean just say it? Just say whatever? She's like, yeah, Stanley, just say what you're thinking. Just come out with it. It's fine. And he goes, well, you're kind of popular, but you seem nice. And some of the other people are mean to me, but you're kind of nice. So maybe will you go to the dance with me? And so she starts laughing and the atmosphere clouds up and she starts maniacally laughing. And she's like, dance with Stanley Tweedle? Everyone come listen. Stanley just invited me to the dance. He's such a fucking loser. She doesn't say that, but it's the implication.
Yeah, the implication.
And you're like, wow, Stanley's had a life. right? Everyone in his entire life has been like, Stanley? Pfft, fuck you. And yet he still saves the day every time. And that's why Stanley's a real hero, okay? That's not the weird attraction talking. That's definitely objective reality. Meanwhile, the space sperm embeds itself in the ceiling and jellyfish tentacles pop out and then a body falls out. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, pretty straightforward plot.
When has a weird tentacle-like creature producing copies of women ever gone wrong on this show?
There's no precedent.
There's no precedent for this. I've literally never seen this before. This could go either way.
No.
Pattern. So then we go to the control room and the hallway. So much of the ship. Like we get to see so much of the ship as it's like zooming around. Then we come back to Stanley. He's sleeping again. And then he's still sleeping. He's sleeping still. He's not sleeping again. And he hears giggling. It's like, dee! And he wakes up like, the fuck?
Which would be extra creepy knowing that you're on a ship with a robotic head that's pining after a pile of goo and a frozen immortal assassin.
He is on a ghost ship. He is on a ghost ship
The
and he
only
heard giggling.
thing that should be making noise is the Lexx.
Yeah.
And the Lexx doesn't have a lot to say.
When they set off on this voyage, it was him and Zev and Kai and 790 and a room full of brains that could all talk. And at this point, there is Stanley, a bowl of goo, 790 who is effectively disabled.
Also, goo.
Yeah, and
functionally.
then Kai, who is frozen. So Stanley is all alone and he hears giggling and I'd be like, the fuck? But he just goes, hello, what? Hello? I mean, it's a testament to how fucked up his universe is that he's like, oh, okay, great.
Oh, it's just another Tuesday.
What now? Because then the naked version of the woman from his dream shows up. And he's like, Lyekka? Hey, guys, that's the episode title. I was like, how are we going to work Lyekka into this? I don't even know what Lyekka is. Well, Lyekka's her name. You're welcome. And she goes, hi, Stanley. I want to dance with you. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're going to eat me. Like he immediately
his
is
survival
like,
instincts are on point.
he's like, oh, okay, you're hot enough. I'm going to keep you around, but like, don't fucking touch me.
I need to go wake up Kai.
Yeah. He goes, yeah. He goes, this is strange. I was just dreaming about you. And that was like really long ago. It is really weird that you're here right now. I'm going to go wake up Kai. Like there's only one solution for this.
You're not getting me.
Well,
I'm not that desperate.
Right before he decides he's going to wake up Kai, though. She's like, aren't I the woman of your dreams? I mean, literally, she's the woman he was dreaming about, which is his subconscious. It's totally random. And he's like, I mean, you were the woman of my dreams, like when I was in high school, like a long time ago, I guess, once. And then he's like, whoop, and looks down at her crotch because he's like, I mean, any port in a storm. And
he does check first.
he checks.
But there's an incompatibility.
Yeah, she does not have an actual female parts. She doesn't have any female parts. She's got no vag. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go wake up Kai then, I guess. Like, there's nothing for me to do here. If she had had one, he would have been eaten. Yeah.
It would have been 50-50.
Yeah. Could go either way. And he goes, how did you get here? And she's like, I came from your dream. I love how she tells the truth. There's no subterfuge in this character.
Oh,
if you had asked her, are you here to eat people? She'd have been like, yeah, I'm hungry.
That's what I do.
That's what I do. And they're all like, oh, okay, I respect that. It's fine. It's totally fine. I respect that more than I respect Ida. No, sorry, not. Oh, it was a slip. I'm sorry. We're definitely not talking about Idaho. Potatoho. And then she looks down at herself. She's still naked and covered in goo. They're headed to go get Kai. She looks down at herself and goes, oops. And then this blue light goes, whoop, whoop, and she gets clean. And now she's wearing what is definitely not a trimmed down version of the Whist costume.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
There's no like viney black thing.
Vines are not twining around her body. There's not a sheer underlay. None of that. Nope.
That would be too similar.
Yeah. Plus they'd have to remake that costume for this actress. And I don't think we have. We put all of our budget into the meet rooms for this episode because we showed some hallways and things we had never seen before. So we had to make that shit.
Mm.
And anyway, we're going to get there. This was your favorite part, I think. Because then we go to an exterior and it's another ship. And they're like, Eagle 5, this is mission control. All lights green. We're ready when you're ready. And then we go to the inside of the ship and it's 3 men and they're sitting real close to each other. And the one guy is absolutely holding the handle to a pallet jack.
Yes, he's he's on a box on a pallet jack and he's holding the handle on the pallet jack like it's a steering stick.
Yeah, to be clear, this is not a pallet jack in the episode. This is a spaceship, and they are all in this spaceship. He is definitely sitting on a pallet jack, but this is not that. There's some
it's
little
like the
N64 controller from the last episode.
There's little little bumps on the rectangular part at the as part of the loop of the handle. That's totally where the tension rods go to make the pallet jack go up and down.
Yeah, no, that set builder ran out of money.
They just
and was
pulled it out.
Oh no, I
covered
need a
up
handle.
the holes, and then here's a steering
shit.
stick.
Oh shit, I need a handle. What? And he looked over at the pallet jack they used to bring supplies in, and he was like, "Are we gonna need that for the next 24 to 48 hours?" And they were like, "No." And he's like, "Cool, I'm gonna borrow it real quick."
Don't worry, I'll put it back together when I give it back to you.
It's gonna be fine. And they're like, "Oh, we're finally ready to go beyond the veil that shrouds us in silence and isolation." And they're giving a TV broadcast to the quote people back home on Potatoho.
Yeah.
And they're like, "We can finally see what's wondrous and what wondrous and great things are out there beyond the iron." I thought they said iron veil. And
yes,
I was like,
I
wow.
also thought they said iron.
Wow, we even called it the iron curtain. Great. That's just good. That's fucking great. No, the ion veil, the ion shroud is what surrounds them.
Yeah.
The great...
Their planet probably has a really, really powerful magnetic field.
The small but great planet of Potatoho.
Yep.
Yeah. And they definitely all have... I'm a Canadian guy trying to have a Southern accent. And every once in a while, it slips so completely and so astoundingly. There's one part where the guy looks out the window and he just said alien encounter, but he said it like an alien encounter. I'm having an alien encounter. And he looks out the window and then he's like, oh boy, that's a stage 3 alien encounter right there. And he what? And then he zooms back and you're like, okay, man, all right. I get it. You got paid a sandwich. I get it. It's fine. You did your best. I'm here for it. It's cool. But also I see what you did there. So they're like, okay, we're ready to say the great big goodbye because we're going to pass through the veil. And once they pass through the veil, this tiny little ship will no longer be able to talk to anybody back home. Because as discussed, their ion veil keeps them from here. It isolates them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blocks the radio waves that they use for communication.
Makes them isolationist and insular and nationalistic, one might say. Almost as if experiencing cultures outside of your own creates a limited worldview that affects how you interact with the world around you.
They are very open to new cultures.
Kind of. I mean, when they get to the Lexx and they can order anything, they still only order potatoes.
Maybe that's the only thing they have.
Potatoes.
What I really want to know, I'll wait until we get to this guy's fantasy.
Dang, I was so close too.
EJ's fantasy.
Yeah, I know. I want to know the same thing. I know what you're thinking. And I know I want to know the same thing.
Okay.
But they're like, as we go through this blue light. And they make it out. Spoiler alert. They make it out. It's not like that one episode where the guy is in a probe and he's getting woken up. And then he just crashes against the side of the Lexx.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, we're the first to perforate the veil. We're the first? We're the first. And then the one guy goes, big dick, fast pass,
Fat ass.
This is
So
the cheer that
this
the
is
three
the
of them
second-
give.
This is the second penetration of this episode.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
first.
Yeah. No.
The first was
It-
Lyekka.
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 Yeah. Okay, so to really give the feel of how this byplay goes with the big dick, fast pass, fat ass moment, I feel like I'm going to say big dick, you say fast pass, and then Pippin, you say fat ass. Is everybody on the page for this?
Mhm.
Okay. Big dick,
Fast pass.
fat ass. Thank you, Pippin. And then they do like a woo, like a football cheer. Throw their hands in the air.
This
say,
is such a parody of like manly conversation that
wait, you guys don't talk like this? I thought when women weren't around, you just
I told Rachel
was
that
dick, dick,
like
butt,
in the
boo,
the
boo, boo.
90s feel of this is that this is such a parody of how men would talk like once they're out of radio communication with the rest
Yeah.
of their planet, that these have to be like three deeply closeted gay men parodying
what they
manly
think. Yeah,
conversation,
yeah.
like locker room talk.
I like boobs. Yeah, man. No,
Yeah,
I love
boobs,
Yeah, boobs
uh-huh.
are great. Oh, yeah. Like them way better than dicks. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. It's a moment. It's a moment. This is a very using the male gaze against itself episode, which is kind of interesting because the only reason that they are so quickly and so effortlessly taken in by Lyekka is because they're all terrible people who are immediately willing to throw themselves at this woman's feet. All she says is, would you like to have me? And they're like, yes, I would. Thank you. And
Right,
that's how they all
immediately
get caught. I
compromising
mean, that's
their-
how they all get
Their
caught.
values, yeah.
Yeah. Every one of them immediately, which is a very like, oh yeah, we're such bros.
Although EJ doesn't really.
No, but he does touch her, which is all it requires.
Well, did he touch her or did she touch him?
He touched her. He was like,
Okay.
get out of the way. And he goes to push her out of the way.
Oh, he was trying to get on with his mission.
Yeah, he was trying
find
to.
his men.
Well, he was trying to kill Kai because he thought Kai had
Oh, yeah.
assassinated everybody. Because everyone's telling him the truth, but he's like,
He doesn't
I'm
believe
not
the truth.
receiving that right
you
now.
can't handle the truth.
Yeah, he couldn't handle the truth. We come back to the Lexx, and 790 is like crying, which he's doing a
This whole
lot of this
episode, yeah.
episode. Yeah. Which my favorite part about this is the urn with the little rubber vest on it. Like they have mounted the rubber vest thingy on top of the. Like I love it. Okay.
The rubber vest is part of her flesh.
Taking this moment to have this weird, coherent, consistent thing. Nothing else is consistent, right? Nothing. But that rubber vest thingy that she wears, there was one person that was like, that is like Stanley Tweedle's hat. She cannot lose it. It is a
It's how you
part
know
of her
who
personality.
Zev is.
Yeah. How will we know who Zev is if she isn't wearing the little rubber thing? And then we cut to Stan, who's in the cryo chamber. And he's trying to engage with 790. He's like, 790, there's a random fucking woman here. And 790 is like, don't talk to me. I hate you. Die in a fire.
There's only one woman worth talking about. And her gooey remains are right next to me.
Yeah. Don't fucking
And that's
talk to me.
all
Yeah.
I'm here for.
Yeah. And Stanley's like, but it's a girl, 790. At least I think it's a girl, is what he says. He's like, I don't know, actually. Could be something else. And then he wakes up Kai. She's standing right there. Lyekka's standing right there. He wakes up Kai, and Kai's like, did you need me? Like, why did you wake
you
me
have
up?
need of me?
You have need of me? And Stanley is like, yeah, I got a
visitor.
whatever the fuck that is. And Kai looks over and goes, what sort of thing are you? Which I love the direct approach.
Yeah, what are you? I think I'm a plant.
I think I'm a plant, but I came from a dream. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So you want to hang out for a bit? And she's like, I mean, yeah, because they do not kick her out. They make no effort to oust this creature at all. They're like, well, you live here now. You know what it reminds me of? You know, the philosophical thing, the philosophical paper, I guess, about the seed screens that you can put on a window.
Oh, yes. The abortion argument.
That there are floating around in the air, there are seeds. And you can, if you open your window, one of them can come in and take root in your carpet and grow into a person.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put up a screen that stops those seeds from coming in, but they're not 100%
as a metaphor
effective.
for condoms.
Right. And the whole thing is a metaphor. It's a thought experiment about the idea of the unpreventable. What do you do when you've been trying to prevent something? Anyway, that's what the actual philosophical argument is about. But literally speaking, this is that thought experiment, because they have a screen up ostensibly to keep outside things from coming in.
So the argument in that paper is everybody wants to be able to open their windows to enjoy the fresh air.
Yeah.
Which is a metaphor for having sex.
Yeah.
And enjoying sex. But you don't want this thing to grow in your carpet or your couch or whatever.
Yeah.
So you put up a screen to stop the seeds from getting in through the open window.
Yeah.
But no screen is perfect. So what happens if a seed gets through? In this case, they didn't even have their windows open.
Right. And it still got in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, well, it lives here now. Hi, Lyekka. Nice to meet you. Are you going to eat us? Maybe. Okay. Just let us know, okay? And
this seed got in, you have to carry it to term.
yeah. Because Kai goes, what sort of thing are you? And she's like, I think I'm a plant. I came from a dream. And Kai just goes, must have been a good dream. And Stanley
and then he goes back to his cryo.
Stanley goes, not really. And then Stan pulls Kai aside and he's like, listen, Kai, here's the most important part about this. She doesn't have a vag. She's smooth around the bend is what he says.
Smooth around the bend.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we cut back to the Eagle Five. And they are, for some reason, describing their dream dates to each other. And the one guy's like, oh, I'm going to date a supermodel. And he's like, what? A supermodel will never date you. And he's like, yeah, in my dream they would.
Because I'm an astronaut.
And the reason that they're dating me is only for my body. It's not for anything else. And the other guy pulls out this packet and flicks it open and it expands into a cowboy hat. And then he puts it on. I was like, wow, we are
committing to the bit.
I get it. I got it. Thank you. Thank you. And they all have bad Southern accents. And then they're describing the perfect date. The one guy is describing the perfect date still. And he's like, I'm going to give her the big one. You know, the big one. And they're like, okay, does Sally Sue know you're going to give her the big one? He's like, she doesn't need to be a part of this. This is a dream. This is the supermodel in me. This doesn't have anything to do with Sally Sue, which we find out one of them's married to Sally Sue. One of them's married to Becky Boo. And one of them's married to Mary Moo.
Yep.
And they are all 2-letter initial names. They're EJ, JJ.
And PT.
Yeah. Okay. It's not wrong. You know, it reminds me of that scene in Ted where he's like, oh, I met a woman. He's like, okay, is it Tiffany, Becky, Brandy, Brittany? And he's like, none of those. And he's like, okay, is it Tiffany Sue, Brittany Sue?
No, it's like Tammy Lynn, Mary Lynn.
Oh, yeah, Lynn. That's what it is. Tammy Lynn, Mary Lynn, Becky Lynn, Brittany Lynn. And it's Tammy Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also not wrong. So they're all discussing their fantasies or their dreams, so to speak. So this is the second time we've brought up the importance of dreams. And maybe that's going to be significant. I don't know. I don't know. We'll just have to ride this out and figure it out. But the captain's name, whose name is Moss, he's like, all I want is the simple life back home with my Becky Boo on Potatoho. And that's when he says he likes to work in his garden.
My little garden.
And every once in a while, his wife will come out and go, Are you done playing around in that garden and you ready to come play around with me?
And that's his fantasy.
That's his fantasy. It's just the values of working the land and growing shit in his little garden. And like, okay, this is Texas, actually. I don't know if you've ever been to Texas, and I'm sure we have Texas listeners, and they're like, fuck you, no, we're not. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's the perception everybody has of you. And it is not 100% incorrect, okay? There are definitely areas of Texas where this is the exact vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, you can take the boy out of the Potatoho, but you can't take the potato out of the boy. Oh, yeah. And then we go back to the Lexx, which Lyekka's still on the Lexx. And she's standing there with Kai and 790, which not really 790. He is present, but I wouldn't say present.
He's not participating.
Right. She's standing there with Stan and Kai, and she's like, I like Stan a lot better than I like you, to Kai. She goes, I don't like dead things. And he goes, I mean, fair.
Kai's
Fine.
ready to go back to bed.
Yeah. He's like, so why am I up? This does not appear threatening. I mean, come on. Like, what do you think I'm going to do with a creature made of plant that's imitating another woman? It's not like I have ever actually battled one of those in space or anything like that. Totally fine. And then Potatoho arrives.
The ship hails them.
Yeah. And Stanley goes, what is this? Open house on the Lexx? Because there's now another visitor. And he goes, maybe we should just blast them. Like, maybe we should just straight up kill them all right now. I'm
so inconvenienced.
I am so mildly inconvenienced right now. Maybe I should just blow them up. And Kai is like, they aren't aggressive yet, Stanley. And he's like,
Don't
okay,
give them
yeah,
a chance.
but like yet, right? Like they definitely could be. And so Kai moths out there because he's like, Stanley, hold. Let's bring them on. We can always kill them in person. And Stanley's probably like, you make a compelling argument. So Kai moths out there and he's like, points at them and then points at himself.
How they get in. So they're wearing their spacesuits.
Yeah.
They must have just put on their spacesuits, gotten out of their capsule, and then had Kai tow them in with the moth.
I think in those 5 minutes of conversation, you thought more about it than the people that wrote the script did. I don't know, because the capsule's still floating right where it was.
Right.
And yet
Why
now
did the
they
whole
are on the
capsule not
Lexx.
come in?
Yeah, it's fine. But Kai points at them, points at himself, and then like thumbs over his shoulder.
Like, want to ride?
Which I guess, I mean, I was going to say it makes sense that they don't have like radio receiver technology, but they would have it on their own planet unless their planet's magnetic.
What did they use to talk to the Lexx? Radios?
You got me. You're right. They hailed the Lexx.
And they were talking to their planet via radio
until they
on
went
their
through
way
the
out.
yeah. All right, fine. You know what that is? It's the butternut. God damn it! The butterscotch schnapps that you put in our pre-Lexx shot that got me. I'm like bleh, bleh, the butterscotch schnapps. You sabotaged me on purpose. Are you a plant?
I think I'm a plant.
I don't know. I left the door open one day and you just showed up.
Your screen wasn't very good.
But I think the whole point of that joke was their introduction is, hi, we're from the planet Potatoho. We are intelligent. And so Kai's like, can you come in? And they're like, okay.
Through the hole.
Because they come in these really fancy spacesuits.
They're all on one ventilation system.
Yeah, because they have a wheelie thing that they carry with them. And then they pull out a brochure And they're like, greetings from the children of Potatoho, which is what we sent off on Voyager 1.
Yes.
The golden record. Greetings from the children of planet Earth.
Planet of dirt.
And they're like, and we have brought you a potato. And it's like the saddest little potato.
It's just like, it looks like a little black rock.
I mean, as commentary goes, it's good. I was mildly offended, which means it was just spot on enough that I recognized what it was, but it wasn't so on the head, like nail on the head, that it felt like, wow, you're really just using us as the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
That's good
then
satire.
They talk very slowly to introduce themselves, and Kai just, we can understand you. Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can take your helmets off.
This is when
by
they
the way.
introduce themselves as LLPT and EJ.
Yep.
And the guy's like, yeah, we can really just understand everything you're saying. And they're like, oh, you can? Oh, thank God. And so then he's like, well, you can take your helmet off. And they do. You're right. Correct, Matthew. Thank you. And Stanley goes, I'm the captain of the Lexx. I mean, they are intelligent. So,
Stanley's having a field day with this.
yeah. And they they're like,
giving them the tour of the Lexx.
look, he finally met. It's kind of like when we integrate chickens. So we raise chickens. And so we'll have an existing flock.
I'm around while chickens are being raised.
I raise chickens. So we'll have an existing flock and then we'll have a new group. And when you put the two groups together, generally speaking, the biggest bully is the lowest chicken on the totem pole in the existing flock. Because suddenly 4 new chickens who are lower than her on the pecking order have shown up, and she needs to make sure that they know that they are lower, because up until this point, she's been the bottom of the pecking order. That's Stanley right now. He's like, yes, finally, there's people lower on the pecking order than me.
He's been 4th, now 3rd from the top, and he wants to make sure that he stays 3rd from the top in the pecking order,
Right.
while new people have been added below him.
But I mean, he did want to just blow their entire ship up, so that's always still an option. But they go, what's a Lexx? Which, hey, it's kind of refreshing to meet a character that doesn't immediately know what the Lexx is, how to operate it, and the fact that there is a mystical key that only Stanley holds. So that's a breath of fresh air, you know. And so Stanley goes, well, I don't know, let's let the Lexx tell you. Lexx, what are you? And the Lexx goes,
I am the Lexx.
I should have done that because I probably sound closer to the Lexx. Let's see. I am the Lexx. Oh, it didn't work because it's on the wrong one.
Because the
Firmware update changed how the button sounds work.
Okay, well, Road, take note. That didn't work the way I wanted it to. And then they look over at Lyekka and they're like, this is Lyekka. She's a
Plant, we think.
I think she's a plant. And they're like, no, she's humanoid, which technically speaking, correct. She is
Yes.
shaped like a human.
You're both only partly wrong.
Yeah. They're like, no, she's humanoid. And they're like, I mean, yeah, kind of. In that she's a plant, I guess. And then he looks over at Kai, and this was my favorite moment of the entire episode, purely. He goes, Kai was.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're humanoids. It's like, I am. Kai was.
Kai was. And the guy goes, you were? And it's just
I was until I died 2009 years ago.
The succinctness of referring to the undead character just as the past tense form of to be is literally my favorite script moment of this entire show so far. Just I am, she is, and Kai was. Oh, you were? As in,
yeah.
Oh, what happened? And he's like, well, yeah, I was until I died 2009 years ago. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, can you imagine? You're an astronaut. You've been working on this for years. You finally escaped the ion cloud. You've
been
the first
training.
group.
You've been imagining. You've been designing things,
Fantasizing, one might say.
fantasizing about what this journey is going to be like, what the other intelligent life in the universe is going to be like. And then you encounter the Lexx.
Yeah. It's a moment. It's a good moment.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's why I was saying it's really interesting that the Lexx is neither dystopian nor utopian. It's just regular shitty people in space.
Yeah.
So Stanley actually gets to give them a tour of the Lexx because he's proud of his ship. It is his ship. He's the only living person on it. He has the key. It is his ship. And he's like, okay, so we only have like 4 sets. Where do you want to start? Cryo chamber. Okay. So they go to the cryo chamber and they're like, this is the cryo chamber. This is the cryopod. Kai sleeps in here, stays in here.
Well, he says, do you sleep? Is this where you sleep? Well, no. Kai does. But
Yeah.
in this one, just the open one.
Yeah, that's it. Literally none of the other ones. None.
A lot of this
Never.
dialogue felt improvised.
Yeah. They're like, just walk around and show it to him. I don't know. We didn't write that out. And he's like, okay, this is a cryopod.
Particularly Stan and EJ. Their dialogue, probably about half their dialogue, felt improvised.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, okay, here's the vibe you're going for. Just make shut up.
Yeah. Especially when we got to, this is 790. He's a semi-intelligent robot head. Emphasis on semi. And 790's like, fuck you.
Ooh, that what I just said reminds me of something. Apparently, James McAvoy was in a movie,
Okay.
and the shtick of the movie was James McAvoy never saw a script. In every scene, before he would go onto the set for filming, they would say, here's context, here's what the other characters, are probably going to do something like this. Just make up your lines.
Is this wanted? Because that would explain a lot.
Mm-mm.
Damn it.
It's one of his newer ones. He's doing a
Oh.
lot more experimental
Is
stuff.
it the horror one that he's in?
I don't think it's
Speak
the
No
horror
Evil?
one. No,
Okay.
it's a different one. But I want to watch that movie.
I mean, it's James McAvoy, so
Maybe we
yes,
can
you could probably
watch it
talk
for the
me
pod.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is our horror season right now on Strange and Beautiful Book Club.
Mm-hmm.
But while they're in the cryo chamber, Lyekka leans over and like taste tests Zev.
And 790 is scandalized.
790 freaks out. He goes, kill her, Kai, kill her. And Kai goes, no. And Stanley's like, this is 790. He has an attitude problem. And 790 goes, kill him too, Kai.
If only 790 had been a little more compassionate to Stanley, Stanley might have a little empathy for 790.
Yeah, they could be together on this instead of opposing each other.
They could be grieving together.
Yeah, but wait, we're going to miss my second favorite moment of this episode is when he goes, kill him too, Kai. And Kai goes, no, not now.
Not now.
Not now. Leaving his options open. I love it.
Always.
He's like, I'm not going to kill him. I'll most likely kill him in the morning. And then Lyekka goes, well, I am hungry, so I'd like to eat. And Stanley's like, yes, that's an excellent idea, Lyekka. Is anyone else hungry? And the astronauts are like, oh, yeah. So they all go to the meat room, which we haven't seen in a while. I wonder if they had to recreate the meat room for this
They
episode.
had to dust it off.
Yeah. And so the guy's like, how do you make the protein? How do you reconstitute the protein? Like, what process is happening here that's creating your
He
food?
wants to discuss technical details
Yeah.
of living in space.
And Stanley
How
was
does
like,
your stuff work?
yeah, Stanley's like, fuck if I know. Just ask for what you want. And sometimes it gives it to you and sometimes it doesn't because the Lexx is stupid. And Lexx is like, literally, because it poops out potatoes. Because one of them has a potato masher in their hand.
Oh, yeah. He orders some potatoes and he pulls his potato masher out of his pocket.
Which is
That's
a
all he's
big,
got.
you know what? I had more fries in Canada than I have had in the US in a long time. So this is real rich. Of course, this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
before the potato became all pervasive in the Canadian culture and it was more referential of American culture. I don't
Maybe
know.
this episode was really impactful in Canada.
They were like, maybe there's something about that potato thing. Otherwise, why would they talk about it so much? But they order like French fries. One of them orders mashed potatoes. And then Stanley starts making fun of Potatoho. He's like, oh, do you guys only have potatoes there? You don't eat anything else?
It's like picking up new slang, and at first you only use it sarcastically and ironically,
Yeah.
but then you do it enough that you start saying it unironically,
Yeah.
and then you know that you're too far gone.
Yeah. You've lost the battle. And EJ is like, no, we have great people and great values. And in the background, Western, like American Western style MIDI music is playing. Like patriotic, borderline
Right,
patriotic music.
inspirational background music for his off the cuff.
Yeah, which sounds like the theme song to a Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is when we find out that the last guy's wife's name is Mary Moo. Because at this point, we've heard about Sally Sue. We've heard about Becky Boo. But now we've learned about Mary Moo. And the guy's like, so Stanley, have you ever met another intelligent species? And Stanley's like, are you fucking kidding me? I haven't met one intelligent species. We're not even intelligent. No, he doesn't say that, but he's like, no, didn't you read the rules of Lexx? There are no alien races. Everyone's human. Until an alien writes the script. Remember the rules?
Yeah, and none of them are hyper intelligent.
Right. And they're like, oh, okay, so like, how does the Lexx work? I mean, technically speaking, they have met another intelligent species because the divine shadow is not human.
Very good point.
They have met the insect civilization.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And whatever.
Mantrid is.
He used to be human.
Yeah.
But then there was
and
the thing from Pattern.
Yeah, the thing from Clagia. The worms from Clagia.
Yeah.
That was also an intelligent species.
Mm-hmm. Kai has a whole conversation with one of them.
Yeah. And it figures out a way to get off the planet. Like it figures out a way to trick the Lexx into taking it off the planet. Yeah, they've met two other intelligent species.
The Lexx is an intelligent
the Lexx
species.
Is not. Exactly. They are inside another intelligent being that is not human. It's fine. It's fine.
I was talking to someone at work the other day about some of the parallels, because they were talking about Farscape.
Ah.
And I was like, oh yeah, well,
another excellent
there's some
one.
Parallels there.
Tomorrow is a
living
rest day.
ship.
Yeah.
A misfit crew. That's not.
They are at least slightly morally upstanding.
Yes, they have more of a narrative trajectory as a whole crew together, working together to achieve a goal. Whereas on the Lexx, there's no. The most that they've done is cooperatively get more proto blood for Kai.
Yeah.
And that's been the high point on their collaboration.
They worked together to save Stanley.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of.
At this point, they have been through so much together. They might not be friends, but they are enmeshed emotionally.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in a positive way, but in a we've shared enough trauma that literally no one else can relate to the level of trauma that we have gone through together. So we've become an insular group purely because we faced down the divine shadow together. We escaped a planet with the help of a sun, a sentient sun, which is another intelligent species that they have met.
Very good point.
Yeah.
The stars.
The stars. I mean, how do you make another friend and you're like, oh yeah, this one time I was on this planet in the dark universe and it was about to explode, but luckily the sun that was about to go supernova had a friend and they helped me off the planet. You just don't make good conversation anymore. I mean, you do, but not in like a can you emotionally connect to anybody else? That's why they're all enmeshed. Anyway, that's my thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So they go on. EJ Moss is like, so how does the Lexx work? Like, how is this? Can you tell me any technical details whatsoever? And Stanley goes, oh, yeah, I just tell it what to do and it does it. Like I could say, Lexx, blow up that planet over there. And the Lexx goes, okay, Stanley, and blows up the planet in front of them. And they're like, wow, that's really cool.
Stanley's the one that says it's kind of technical.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, how do you pilot it? Oh, well, it's kind of technical. But to put it simply, like I tell the Lexx what to do and when to do it and something else.
And it does it, but only for me.
But only for me.
Yeah. And he goes, blow up that planet. And the Lexx goes, okay. And blows up the planet. And they're like, wow, that's really cool. Where's our capsule? And he's like, oh.
The Lexx responded so fast, Stanley didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
To stop the order.
Hopefully there was nothing on that planet. Matt was like, oh my God, is that Potatoho? I was like, I don't think it's Potato. They'd be a lot more upset. But they're like, where's our capsule? And Stanley's like, oh shit. And they're like, oh, how are we going to get home? Which luckily the Lexx can just take them. It's not like they have an itinerary or anything. But it's going to take a while. For the first time ever, it's going to take a while to get where we're going. So they all lay down to take a rest. And EJ wakes up and then he goes over and gets everybody else up. And he's like, okay, 1 hour recon. You go out, you come back. He's like, you're forward, you're back. I'm Windershins. I don't know. Roundabouts. Whatever. The last one.
But he tells them like 3 or 4 times, watch out for that woman.
And the guy with the hair.
Is that how he refers to guy?
Yes. He goes, and the guy with the hair. And they're like, okay. And they're like, okay, if you meet the woman, do not have sex with the woman. They're like, no way. I have a wife. I would never do that. And he's like, okay, but like on the off chance that it comes up, say no.
Keep your guard up.
Keep your guard up. And he's like, got it. And we go back to the bridge. Like the first place one of them arrives is on the bridge. And surprise, surprise, the plant pod thing.
It's just right there, hanging from the ceiling.
In the bridge? So directly in front of where Stanley usually stands to command the Lexx, which
it's probably
apparently
the only place they had to hang it.
Which apparently he's not required to stand there. He could say it from anywhere without having to put his hand up on any. He could be laying in bed and be like, oh, just blow up the fucking planet, Lexx.
The user interface that pops up when he puts his hand there.
The thing. Yeah. Yep. I know, whatever. Anyway, it's in the bridge. It's just hanging right there. And they've all been walking around literally unconcerned, like completely unconcerned. And I was like, did we learn nothing from Claudia? From Whist? Nothing? We learned nothing? We're like, oh, that's going to go away on its own. That'll clear up without antibiotics. It's fine. It's fine. So then Lyekka shows up and she's like, oh, hey, Bando. She's getting ready to eat some.
I'm hungry.
Bando potato.
Bandato.
And she's like, you want to have me? And he's like, oh, yeah. No, yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
He fights it so hard.
Wife who? Don't know her. It's fine. So we cut to him kissing her and then getting whisked away into his fantasy, which is him in sideburns. Sexily having dinner with her. And he's like, I'm a
it's
big
such a parody
astronaut.
of the male fantasy. The male gaze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah. The male, like, I'm so sexy and I'm so hot and she's so into me.
Boy. You're a big boy.
That's exactly what
I'm a big boy.
I'm big where it counts is what he says. And the only thing on his plate is a potato, like an uncooked potato. And he goes, I'm big boy Bando. And she's like, oh yeah, you are a big boy. And he's like, that's right, I'm big boy Bando. And then he starts going, I'm big boy Bando. And like his head explodes and he gets sucked up into the plant pod. And that's it. He died. Got eaten.
All gone.
I mean, he deserved it. That was a really weird fantasy. I'm not. Nobody. Okay, it's fine. So then we go back on Potatoho.
You're allowed to fantasize about whatever you want to fantasize about.
That's true. I would never actually feed anyone to a sentient plant because they had weird fantasies. So then we go back to Potatoho, and it's the president of Potatoho, and he's like, I'm going to lead everyone in prayer for the safety of our astronauts, which is really funny and feels like it would be a joke. But when Hurricane Helene was projected to hit all of these states on the eastern coast of the U.S., Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, pretty much everybody in the path declared a state of emergency ahead of time so they could begin evacuation.
Right.
So
The
they
president
could provide.
preemptively approved FEMA
Yeah.
emergency declaration stuff like 2 or 3 days before anything hit.
Do you know what the governor of Tennessee
yeah.
decided to do?
A day
Of
for
prayer
fasting and prayer.
fasting. Yep. He did not declare a state of an emergency
Until the next day.
when it was actually an emergency. When it would have done the most good, he decided to declare a day of prayer and fasting. And I'm just going to leave that
This isn't as much of a parody as
as you
one
think it
might
is.
think. Yeah.
But it's cool. It doesn't last very long because Mantrid eats the whole planet.
I like how we're just getting these like 10-second little snippets of, yes, Mantrid is following them.
Yeah.
And consuming entire planets into dust.
Yeah. Yeah. The Lexx is the most powerful weapon in the universe, but Mantrid is the most powerful swarm of armed drones in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Lexx can blow up a planet,
Yeah.
but there's still rocks and shit.
Yeah.
But when Mantrid comes through, there's nothing left.
There's not, it's all gone.
Yeah.
And then we come back to the crowd chamber and the
He's going to
remaining.
turn into Unicron.
He's basically Unicron at this point anyway, eating
I mean,
planets.
once he becomes planet-sized,
Yeah.
the swarm of arms is actually going to merge together into one gigantic
All he needs to
robotic
do
thing.
is capture somebody that we thought was dead and then turn them into something new and more powerful and then return it. Like Megatron gets turned into
Galvatron.
Galvatron for like 2 seconds. And then they were like, that was dumb. Welcome back, Megatron. Anyway, we come back and the remaining 2 astronauts are hanging out in the crowd chamber having a conflab. They're like, oh my God, something happened to Bando. And 790 is spitting on their feet. It's like
The whole time they're having this whole conversation, and the whole time 790 is spitting on their feet.
which 790 can't actually spit.
He's just making
It's just making the sounds.
the gesture.
He's really making the effort, though.
Yeah.
He's putting the effort in for Zev. So they decide to split up to look for Bando. And Lyekka is taking a shower. So the other guy who's not Moss and not Bando, he spots her in the shower room, which we haven't seen the shower room
In a while.
in a while. And it looks hairier, which I'm not okay with. And she is
She's
so-
guzzling down that stream.
Let me set the scene of what's happening here. Lyekka isn't naked. She's wearing her Whist knockoff.
Hold on.
She's wearing her Sheen
Hold
version
on.
of Whist's outfit.
The sheer layer of thing that looks like fabric
Yeah.
that is around her humanoid shaped body.
Yeah.
Is that actually just her flesh?
Okay. The actress is not naked.
Okay.
Okay. She's wearing a costume.
Yes.
She's wearing her sheer vine covered bodysuit.
Yeah.
And she's standing in the shower with her head tipped back, her mouth open, her hair wet and falling back away from her face, while just the tip of the shower gland
I like it. Gland.
dangling directly over her face, spraying water,
Spewing.
ejecting water directly into her mouth, which she is swallowing vigorously and efficiently.
Not a drop wasted.
Nope. None. So the astronaut guy leaves. He's like, well, that's it's unexpectedly erotic. And so he just walks off. So she turns around and she follows him because she's like, oh, I'm really hungry.
I was very thirsty. But I'm still hungry.
Yeah. And she goes, do you want to be with me? And he's like, no, okay.
He barely fights it. He's like,
yeah.
This would just be between us, just
As
our
lo-
little secret.
I mean,
right?
as long as it's a secret, except Kai is standing there like 2 feet away. He's like,
Watch.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't, just pretend I'm not here. Just go on about your business. Go on.
So then his fantasy is being the first to encounter alien life forms.
Yeah, he wants to be the first. The first. He's like, am I the first?
I wanna
She's
be
like,
the
oh yeah,
first.
no, you're the first. Because he's in his vision, they're hanging out on the now destroyed capsule. But the other 2 dudes are sitting there with their feet up with like
in lounge
slippers
chairs.
and bathrobes on doing crossword puzzles. And they're like, whatever you say, man, like we don't really care. And he's like, no, we're going to be the first. There's an alien outside the ship and she wants to come in and she's going to be our first. This is when he's like, that's an alien life form. We're going to make contact. And then tries to say like something in very bad Southern English. It doesn't really matter. But he goes, I'm going to be the first to make contact. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, you beat us to it, Boosh. His name is Boosh, like the mighty Boosh.
I wonder if this was where the mighty Boosh got his name
I
from.
don't remember where they got it from, but I definitely don't think it's that. He's like, oh, no, you beat us to it. Yeah, totally. And he pulls out of his pocket a special potato that he has been saving since he was a child so that he could give it to an alien. And then we just hear... And we see him get sucked up into the pod and his boot falls off of his foot and onto the floor.
Yep.
And Kai just watches this guy get eaten. And he watches the boot fall to the floor. And then he's like, oh, okay, that's what she's doing. Well, that makes sense.
So then he goes and reports to Stan.
Yeah, I mean, Lex flies to the ion cloud because we are actually taking these people home. That's what we've all been doing while we were resting around on the ship. And Kai wakes Stanley up and he's like, Lyekka consumed both Boosh and Bando. And Stanley's like, I'm sorry, what? She ate them? And he's like, consumed them. Yes. Yeah, correct. No.
Yep.
Yeah, he ate
Did I
she ate
stutter?
them. Yeah, she ate them. And I've been searching my memories and following her around the ship. And I think she's a life form that mimics us so that we won't get suspicious and kick her out. And it will give her an opportunity to feed. And it's like, yes, but a giant pod appeared and attached itself to a ceiling.
And nobody's mentioned it.
And she
at all.
fell out of it covered in goo.
Well, nobody saw that part.
Stanley saw her covered in goo.
He saw her covered in goo. He did not see her fall out of the pod tentacle thing.
There is every reason to freak the fuck out over this
yeah.
person. And they're just like, well, she's a hot chick, so.
He tried to bring it up with Kai, but Kai is not motivated to resolve these non-threatening issues.
Well, I mean, I feel like she's eye candy and we lost Zev. So, I mean, at least I'll die happy if she sticks around. So whatever. Because Stan goes, oh, okay, great. Are we going to go from here to go save Moss? And Kai goes, I mean, I don't actually have any motivation to save Moss.
I don't have any motivation to save Moss from Lyekka or Lyekka from Moss.
Yeah, I really don't give a
And
shit.
then he just walks away.
Either way. I have no skin in this game. I don't really give a shit. I'm just going to go see how this plays out because it's mildly entertaining.
I'm just here for the show.
Which is a lovely change from the completely altruistic character to the utterly indifferent character. I have murdered people in horrific ways, at least
And
they're
I
dying
seek atonement.
happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The contrary character to Kai is I have led a life of violence.
Yeah.
And I feel morally culpable for that
everything.
violence.
Yeah.
I need to atone for it by being an extra good person.
Right.
And saving people. And Kai's just like, yeah, I killed a lot of people. And I don't like that I did it, but it wasn't my fault.
I mean, it's done.
I regret that it happened. But I don't need to like make up for it or whatever.
Right. I'm definitely not going to. I don't know who's innocent in this situation. I can't just look at these people from Potatoho and say they're
I'm
the
just
ones that deserve to
nobody.
be saved.
Who am I to judge?
Yeah. Exactly.
Lyekka could be right.
There's a line.
Who
from,
knows?
There's a line from Atlas Shrugged that I'm trying to remember, and I can't. It's similar to that where it's like, I can't make I'm an elected official. I can't make these kinds of decisions for myself.
Nightmare Before
That's
Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. Which is, Atlas
it's-
Shrugged. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
it's very on point for
Yeah.
Atlas Shrugged.
And so it's later, and they're all in the cockpit, and Stanley has his hat on, so he's dressed for the day. And Moss runs in, and he's like, "Where are my men? They were supposed to report back to me 36 minutes ago." And Stanley's like, "There were more than one of you?" What? So weird. I don't know where anyone went.
None of us have seen your men.
Yeah. Oh, I don't.
have no idea what you're talking
by
about.
the way, we're back at Potatoho, and it like turns on the screen, and it's completely empty. There's no planet. And Moss is like, "Wait, hang on. Where's Potatoho?" And Stanley's like, "Oh, these are the coordinates you gave us. Did you give us the wrong coordinates? Because there's no planet here." And Moss is like, "You blew up my fucking planet?"
This guy commits to the bit.
So
So
hard.
I've only seen this guy in one other thing, and he was like the mentor to the owl guy in Watchmen, the Watchmen
Yeah.
movie from the 2000s. And he was just kind of genial old man who's still kind of tough.
Yeah.
But he commits to the bit
Yeah.
for this character.
Well, because he has like an immediate breakdown. He's like, "No, where's my planet? You blew up my planet." And Stanley goes, "Well, was it made of potato? Maybe somebody ate it." It's not the moment, Stan. It was a good,
Nope.
It was a good joke, but that wasn't the right moment for that joke. And Moss has a meltdown. And then he looks over and notices the boot on the floor. And he's like, "The fuck is this boot? You blew up my planet. You killed my men." And Stanley's like, "No, maybe they're down in the crowd chamber, or we can go ask Kai. He's definitely down there." And Moss is like, "Wait a minute.
Kai.
Didn't you say Kai is an assassin?" And wow, everyone on the Lexx is objectively terrible from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah. Once you start to learn their actual backgrounds.
Yeah. Oh, yay, we finally made contact with an alien race. They are probably really cool people. Oh, wait, Stanley got almost 100 planets destroyed. Kai spent 2009 years wantonly murdering his way through the universe. Ava Haberman Zev, who is now a bowl of goo, was a part carnivorous lizard love slave. And then there's a robot head who is actively trying to kill everyone and would if he could get access to anything that would allow him to kill people. And then when they find out that these innocent astronauts who have appeared on their ship, that they gave access to the ship, they didn't have to let them on the ship. They let them on the ship. And then as soon as they start getting eaten, they're like, "Well, we're just going to see how this plays out." So I just want to point out the crew of the Lexx is
The crew of the Lexx reminds me of all the memes I see about D&D groups reverting to being murder hobos
yeah.
because the characters just play them that way.
Yeah.
And it's like such a pattern.
I mean, it's the fun pattern, so
And so the crew of the Lexx is kind of like
they are murder hobos.
this rogue ship that the heroes in another space TV show would be hunting.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they're literally trailing destruction across the universe. Literally, because Mantrid is following them.
Mhm.
So everything they've had contact with in the last 2 episodes has been utterly destroyed. Anyway, back in the cryo chamber where we all run to because now Moss thinks that Kai is the bad guy. So down to the cryo chamber. Lyekka is in the cryo chamber and she's getting Zev. Like she's picking the Zev bucket of goo up. And 790 is having his chance to have a meltdown. And he's like, "Kill her." kill her to Moss. He tells Moss, kill her and then kill yourself. Unless there are other people on board, in which case kill them first, then kill yourself. Which everyone's
So Moss
ignoring.
just kicks him.
Everyone's ignoring him. Yeah, he's like, you're such a stupid robot head, and he kicks him. And Lyekka's like, what? And so he says, what did happen to my friends, Lyekka? Like, what did you do? What happened to my friends? And Lyekka goes, oh, I ate them, and they were delicious. And he's like, Kai killed them, didn't he? And she's like, no, I ate them. I went like that, and I just sucked them up into my pod, and then I digested them. I killed them. And he's like, God damn it, Kai. I knew you'd betray me. He's just not listening. She's telling him the truth.
Okay, boomer.
But when Stanley runs in, he picks up 790, and 790 is like, if you save Zev's protein goo, I will never insult you ever again. And Stanley's like, all right, that's worth it. And so they go after
That would
Moss.
be a huge quality of life improvement
It was just to have
for Stan.
one of the 3 people who are actively awake at any given moment, not telling you you're an asshole every second that they have, would be great. So everyone is trying to tell Moss. They're all back in the cabin now because, not the cabin, but the bridge. We're all back on the bridge because we had to be in the crowd chamber. Then we were in the bridge. Then we're in the crowd chamber. Now we're back in the bridge. And Moss just isn't getting it. Everyone is trying to explain that Lyekka is like a plant. Look, here's the pod right here with the tentacles. See the tentacles? She's a space plant jellyfish, and she ate your friends. And Moss goes, I just don't understand young people these days.
They've lost their values.
Which is the most boomer thing he could possibly say. And so Moss / Kai / Lyekka / Stan / kind of Zev and 790 are now all in the bridge. And so everything has come to a head, so to speak.
Because that's where the bridge is.
Yeah, and this is when Moss goes, it's time for the little women to make way for the men, because Lyekka is trying to explain that she ate his friends. And so he goes to brush her aside, and he gets immediately swept into a fantasy, because all that's required for Lyekka to ensnare these people is touch. And so it's him working in the garden in this very Dust Bowl looking setting. And his wife comes out. And she's like, do you want to play in the garden or do you want to play with me? And he goes, garden.
Which he doesn't compromise his values.
Right. Then he starts going, garden is virtue. Garden is values.
Now, in this fantasy of his,
here we go.
The garden is populated by human heads sticking out of the ground, all making like whining noises like they're hungry or whatever.
Yeah, like as far as the eye can see, it's just people heads.
And he's spraying them with water about how they're going to grow up big and strong or whatever.
And have virtues.
Yeah. And
is this really how they garden on Potatoho?
On Potatoho, is this how humans grow?
Yeah. Are they really people seeds?
Or is it just a deluded fantasy of his that he's literally like cultivating a society of humans by like through his virtues of tending the land or whatever? Is this a metaphor or is this reality?
I'm going to go with reality. That is how
it's more entertaining that way.
Yeah. And it makes you feel less bad for Potatoho. Because what if that's not how they're grown? Maybe if everybody has to go through a period of time where they get buried to become one with the potato, to really understand Potatoho's perspective. Yep. Because we were all born not understanding the potato. And we can't understand the potato because the potato is unfathomable. And so the best that we can do...
In this universe, everything is either a potato or not a potato.
Yeah.
And that encompasses all of reality.
So how can you understand what it is to be a potato if you don't
Until
spend
you
time?
comprehend everything that is not a potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you find out, you comprehend that you are not potato.
There are coming of age rituals where you get buried in the ground and you go through this like ritualized death ceremony
Yeah.
where you have a like ego death kind of thing. And
It would really make sense for a society that venerates the potato.
to
Yeah.
have to spend time underground
Yeah.
cultivating virtue
And
from the soil.
Everything above the ground in potatoes, when you're growing potatoes, the whole potato plant is poisonous.
Yep.
Only what's underground is edible. It feels metaphorical. I know it's just so they can breathe, but also independent thinking is the only poisonous thing.
The mouth.
Yep. The tongue is a double-edged sword, useful for reproof, correction. Oh, I've forgotten the whole verse. That was a Bible verse I had to memorize. Anyway.
Jesus wept.
Thank you. The shortest one in the Bible. Okay, I just went on like a... You ever just disassociate for a minute and you're like, wow.
Like every 20 minutes.
I just had like I had Bible verses that I had to memorize every week. And then I had to keep them in this little folder
I'm sorry.
so that I could be quizzed on them. And that was one of them. And I did them on the little colorful 3x5 cards
Mm-hmm.
because it made it feel not so bad. Anyway, Moss and Lyekka both get eaten, and Lyekka's still holding the jar of Zev.
You mean Moss gets eaten?
And Lyekka. I mean, they all get sucked up into the...
Oh, I didn't realize Lyekka got sucked up.
Yeah. Because that's when
You mean
7-9
Zev?
and Zev, they all get sucked up into
Moss and Lyekka and Zev, all three of them
I'm
go
pretty
up.
sure they do. Because 790's like, Kai, use your brace. Because the jar disappears into the
Okay.
thing. And Kai goes, for what? Like, what am I going to shoot? What would you propose I shoot, 790? And 790's like, get Zev out of there. And Lyekka, maybe Lyekka doesn't get sucked up because she's
Yeah, I think
there.
Lyekka stays down and is
Okay.
talking to them.
So Moss and the jar all get taken up there. Because Kai is like, all right, 790, I'll see what I can do with diplomacy. Diplomacy, because then he threatens Lyekka to her face instead of just shooting her.
Alternative tactic.
He rolls an intimidation check, but she actually cannot be intimidated.
She's immune to intimidation.
Yeah, she's immune to intimidation because she could just, well, she can't eat him because as we find out, he doesn't contain protein. Anyway, Kai threatens Lyekka, and then Stanley steps in and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I like Lyekka. You gotta be nice to her. She just ate 3 people. She just...
And the remains of your former crewmate.
So for perspective, 3 random astronauts showed up. They let them on the ship, knowing there was this random woman that they had no accounting for yet. That woman ate them, and they're like, well, I mean, she wanted some snacks. She was hungry. When I'm hungry, I eat. I get it. It's fine. She didn't eat us. She didn't eat anybody I like, so it doesn't matter.
She ate the jellified human remains.
Yeah. Well, they ask her about that because Stanley's like, hold on. We don't need intimidation right now. We need charm. So let's try for charm. And he's like, okay, so you ate the 2 because you're hungry. And she's like, yeah. He's like, okay, so why eat the 3rd? Were you still hungry? And she goes, oh no, I used his protein and the protein from Zev to make you a present. And Stanley's like, you got me something? This is the first person that has been nice to Stanley.
And he does not know what to do.
Literally the first person. And that person also ate 3 people who were on his ship. and would have eaten him
That might
had no
be-
alternative presented
That might
itself.
be a message about Stanley.
That we're going to put that in the toolbox, okay, for later. Because Lyekka goes, yeah, I knew I liked you. Like, as soon as I was in your dream, I realized you were a cool dude and I really wanted to make you something. And here I got you a present. And then a body falls out of the jellyfish plant thing and stands up and looks around and looks at Kai and goes, Kai? And then looks at Stanley and goes, Stanley? And then looks at the robot head and goes, 790? And 790 goes, Zev? You're different, but it's you. And Lyekka goes, well, I had to go off of your description because every time she would ask 790, what was Zev like? He'd be like, well, she was perfection in the female form.
Right.
He wasn't like she was blue haired. She was 5'7", whatever. And so Lyekka had to extrapolate what that person might look
Right.
like and then recreate that body for them. And then Lyekka goes, well, I'm not hungry anymore, but I do need to rest. Are you okay with that, Stanley? And Stanley's like, oh, did you get snackies and now you need nappies? Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead. It's fine. I don't even use the ceiling. You can use it. You're okay with me,
just
Lyekka.
Keep yourself up there.
You're okay with me, Lyekka. It's fine. And then Kai goes, hold on, though. What will you do when you get hungry again? And she's
Well, I'll
like,
have to
well,
eat.
I'll have to eat again. And he goes, it's okay. We'll find you a nice planet that's suitable to your needs.
They're
They
going
are-
to drop her off on a planet where she's going to eat people.
She's going to be unleashed on another planet. And then she's like, and like does a cutesy little yawn and then like gets slurped back up into her pod to romantic music. What the fuck? This is the bad guy. I mean, I'm not actually mad. I love this whole thing where they're like, those people. I mean, if they don't participate in her fantasy thing, like if they are not bad dudes, can she eat them? Because each one of them had to reach a point of betrayal. Even Moss, because he was getting ready to be violent with the rest of the crew because he was not listening to what they were saying.
Right.
Stanley, who betrayed no one, harmed no one. I mean, he failed to act in defense of anyone, but he did not actively harm anyone. He just didn't prevent harm.
Right.
And so he's the one that
Which,
she's like, I do like
if they
you.
died feeling pleasure, is that a worse ending than being planetless?
Look, I don't think that there's any way we rationalize this and it ends up feeling great. So maybe we should just leave it right where it is. However you want to interpret that. What we end with is Lyekka the plant getting dropped off on a planet where she'll be taken care of because
Well,
it
we don't
suits
even
her
know that
needs.
she's been dropped off yet.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure she's
does
not
she,
coming back.
Does she stay on the Lexx? Is
I
she
don't know.
like 3 or 4 more episodes? Or is she going to pop out?
Probably not. This was just to get Zev rebuilt. And this is when we meet Xenia, who will play Zev from here on out. And for some reason in my head, she has a really deep voice.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to my range of voice. But when we meet her in this, she's like, hi, Stanley. Hi, Kai. Hi, 790. And I
Maybe
was
she
like,
talks. Maybe her regular speaking voice later on is.
she does sound very
deeper.
similar to OG Zev. So
Mhm.
good on her for that. But 790 immediately calls Stan a maggot brain. He's like, yeah, no thanks to maggot brain here. And Stan goes, hey, you promised. And 790 goes, I lied. So status quo has been achieved. We had like a crisis for 15 minutes and now it's fine. We're all back.
We had a 2-parter.
And Zev looks over at Kai and goes, maybe she can bring you back. And Kai goes, I don't contain protein. And Matt goes, oh my God, Kai is vegan.
So Rachel mentioned she was watching something on TV about this power grid where they'd removed all of the coal power plants, but they used the term they had decarbonized the power grid.
And don't think I did not lose it. As soon as they said decarbonized, I was like, what? They're decarbonized?
And Kai is decarbonized.
Yep.
But now we find out Kai does not contain any protein.
Right.
Okay.
He's like the ultimate green machine.
Does that mean... Well, some plants have protein.
It's a joke. The joke doesn't work. If you accept that veganism is a completely legitimate way to live.
Contain combinations of amino acids? Or does that mean...
What is he made
his
of?
protein structures have been modified in such a way that, like, his body has been transformed into something else such that the protein structures no longer qualify as proteins.
Yes. What is he made of?
But if he's decarbonized,
yeah,
that means he's clean, renewable energy.
Yeah.
And he has no protein, so he's at least vegetarian. So he's just getting, I don't know.
He's the
more and more woke as we go along.
I knew that beehive was up to no good. That's where he stores all the. I don't know.
It's a bioreactor?
Yes, it's a bioreactor. No, it's where he stores all the what's that yeast? Yeast that we used to put on everything when we were vegan because it tastes like cheese.
Oh. Nutritional yeast?
Nutritional yeast. It's all in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just smells vaguely like cheese and a little bit like bread all the time. We were vegan for like a hot minute, so I feel like we can make fun of vegans because we were vegan. And we can make fun of the power grid because
we consume power.
The world's on fire. It's perfectly fine.
Because we have mitochondria, the powerhouse of the sun.
I love that. I love that Kai is what the fuck, right? He's decarbonized. He doesn't contain protein. What is he made of?
Oh, how about this?
He couldn't even be destroyed by something that broke you down to subatomic particles. It made his eyes glow.
There's that artist that polymerizes human bodies.
Okay.
And it ends up like stripping off all the skin and fat and stuff, and you're left with just the muscle fibers and connective tissue.
Yeah.
And skeleton.
I've seen some of them.
But it chemically changes all of the all the body, the muscle tissue.
So he's polymerized.
Maybe.
All right, we're going to go with it. Because Kai's like, I don't contain protein. And Zev's like, shoot.
Maybe he's recyclable.
I do respect that they didn't leave that plot hole. They weren't like, wait a minute, couldn't she just bring Kai back too?
Right.
So thank you for closing that loop.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zev goes, whoa, I need to get dressed because she's just covered in goo. And they go, in what? And she goes, I'll make something. And Stanley goes, out of what? She goes, cluster lizard, of course. And then she runs off. And 790 starts laughing maniacally. He's like, ha, 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 ha. And that's the end of the episode. We just cut with 790 laughing. And what a ride. What a fucking ride that was.
Yep.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I feel like we said it all while we were going, but just the, I feel like, what is it? Tales. This is also, no, it's like Lexx or Tales from the Other Side or something like that. And I feel like the alternate titles should have been Shitty People in Space.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Real Housewives of Lexx, right? They will throw anybody under the bus. Even knowing Lyekka they couldn't do anything with Lyekka because she didn't actually have the equipment. Stanley was like, well, she's hot. I figure we can just...
I don't need to do anything.
It's exactly the same mindset that let them keep the divine predecessor brains in the storage room, where they were like, I mean,
they're not hurting anybody.
How bad can it be? Except they actively hurt them several times.
Shh, don't worry about it.
Anyway, I've run out of drink and my throat is dry, so I think we'll just leave it here. I worship his shadow.
May his shadow fall upon you.
Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.